Hey guys, Jade here. Since we talked about light last week, this week I wanted to talk about vitamin D, especially as it gets darker and colder. This is another subject that can be really important to your health and making it through the winter intact and healthy. So vitamin D plays so many roles in the body. It's pretty crazy how much of importance it has. Although it's called a vitamin, it's actually more of a pro-hormone, meaning that the body can synthesize it itself under certain conditions. The problem is that those conditions are strong sunlight, and in Wisconsin, we basically don't get that at all for several months out of the year. So while your body can synthesize vitamin D, it requires having a few other things working well that are pretty important, and it also requires, like I said, direct contact to the skin. So sunscreen will stop it, clothes will stop it, and it has to be strong sunlight, which only even in the summer here happens for a couple hours a day. So I'm going to talk about supplementation with vitamin D at the end. It's, in my opinion, one of the few supplements that you can safely recommend pretty much across the board. It's been extensively researched, and it is one of the few that almost everyone is going to need. So really quick, I'm going to just kind of go through the list of the things that vitamin D helps with so you have an idea of why it's so important. Regulation of calcium and phosphorus. This one's really important, and I'll probably do a future video on it because that's a pretty complex topic in itself. But vitamin D allows you to maximize the better ratio of calcium to phosphorus. Healthy bones and teeth, that one a lot of people are aware of. Immunity, vitamin D is extensively studied in its importance in your immune system. So low vitamin D levels will make you pretty susceptible to flus and colds and all that kind of stuff. There's a really interesting study that came out recently that shows that supplementing with vitamin D is more effective than a flu shot. And flu shot has a lot of consequences that vitamin D doesn't have, so could be a good alternative. Brain and nervous system health. Obviously, your brain and nervous system are pretty important. That's what your entire body runs on. Regulation of insulin levels, pretty darn important to maintaining a healthy weight and losing weight if that's something you need to do. Lung and cardiovascular health, again, obviously important, breathing. Cancer prevention, it's definitely been shown to help with that. It's protective against diabetes and multiple sclerosis. It aids in weight loss, not just on the insulin level subject, but there's another interesting study that is relatively new that showed that vitamin D levels before starting a diet were actually predictive of weight loss occurring. So having solid vitamin D levels is pretty important there. And it's protective of your genes. Vitamin D affects about 3,000 out of 30,000 of the genes that you have. And that's definitely important. So those are a few of the reasons that vitamin D matters. Like I said, super extensively researched. On a low statistic, the studies show that 50% of adults and children, just everyone, are deficient in vitamin D. And that number is a lot higher in northern climates, again, especially during winter. Vitamin D is fat soluble, so it hangs out for a little while, but its life in the body is about 2 weeks. So you could see how you could easily become deficient in the winter when you're just not actually seeing sunlight at all. So there are a couple food sources of vitamin D, other than sunlight, which is the major source of vitamin D. There is some vitamin D in whole milk, but if you're trying to lose weight, it's probably not a good idea to drink as much whole milk as you might need. Whole eggs, again, whole eggs are great, but you don't want to eat a dozen a day. Mushrooms have some in them too. And these are the main sources of vitamin D in food. There's a couple plant foods that have vitamin D, but it's actually vitamin D2, which does not do the same thing in your body as vitamin D3. So it has to be vitamin D3 for all of these things to occur. So that kind of brings us to supplementation of vitamin D. I'm going to definitely go ahead and say check with your doctor on this one. They're going to give you a much better idea of how much you actually need. There's actually a very easy blood test you can get done to find out what your vitamin D levels are, and it is also one of the few blood tests that I actually think are worthwhile. So generally, again, it has to be vitamin D3. Vitamin D2 isn't going to do anything for you. It's best to find a liquid supplement, ideally just a dropper. The Now brand is my personally recommended brand. It has nothing else in it. It's, I think, in an MCT base, which is actually coconut oil. So the supplement should not have any other excipients or additives in it. It should just be vitamin D and then ideally MCT oil, which will help it bring itself into your body. So I'd stay away from any sort of pill of vitamin D and look for the liquid. Like I said, Now Brand is cheap. It's easy to find. I ordered it on Amazon, and I'm sure there's some stores in town that carry it as well. So as far as how much to take, most health professionals will recommend, well, they used to recommend about 600 IUs a day, but that's actually pretty low, and many practitioners will recommend 1,000 IUs and more. There's also studies that show adults have to take 8,000 IUs a day just to bring their vitamin D levels up to normal when they're deficient, which again, most people are. So it's best to check with your doctor, get the simple blood test, and then find what level you need to be taking, because it might be a lot more than what's written on the bottle to bring you up to the place you need to be to benefit from all of the things that vitamin D can do for you. One other quick note on it, vitamin D also actually needs magnesium to be converted into the active form in your body. So make sure that, if you're not taking Epsom salt baths, maybe try that couple, every once in a while, once a week or something like that. It's a nice relaxing way to get magnesium into your body. Also calorie free. Milk is good for magnesium too. Chocolate, that's part of the reason I love chocolate milk. So if you guys have any questions on this, please post below and let me know, and I'll do my best to answer them. All right, thanks.